The growing inclination of two lovers is really already the will to live as the new individual which they can and desire to produce. Nay, even in the meeting of their longing glances its new life breaks out and announces itself as a future individuality harmoniously and well composed. They feel the longing for an actual union and fusing together into a single being in order to live on only as this, and this longing receives its fulfillment in the child, which is produced by them, as that in which the qualities transmitted by them both, fused and united in one being, live on. Conversely, the mutual, decided and persistent aversion between a man and a maid is a sign that what they could produce would only be a badly organized, in itself inharmonious and unhappy being. Hence there lies a deeper meaning in the fact that Calderon, though he calls the atrocious Semiramis the daughter of the air, yet introduces her as the daughter of rape, followed by the murder of the husband. But, finally, what draws two individuals of different sex exclusively to each other with such power is the will to live, which exhibits itself in the whole species, and which here anticipates in the individual which these two can produce an objectification of its nature answering to Ibb's aims. This individual will have the will, or character, from the father, the intellect from the mother, and the corporization from both, yet, for the most part, the figure will take more after the father, the size after the mother, according to the law which comes out in the breeding of hybrids among the brutes, and principally depends upon the fact that the size of the foetus must conform to the size of the uterus. Just as inexplicable as the quite special individuality of any man, which is exclusively peculiar to him, is also the quite special and individual passion of two lovers. Indeed at bottom the two are one and the same, the former is explicit what the latter was implicit. The moment at which the parents begin to love each other, to fancy each other, as the very happy English expression has it, is really to be regarded as the first appearance of a new individual and the true punctum salient of its life, and, as has been said, in the meeting and fixino of their longing glances there appears the first germ of the new being, which certainly, like all germs, is generally crushed out. This new individual is to a certain extent a new, Platonic, idea, and now, as all ideas strive with the greatest vehemence to enter the phenomenal world, eagerly seizing for this end upon the matter, which the law of causality divides among them all, so also does this particular idea of a human individuality strive with the greatest eagerness and vehemence towards its realization in the phenomenon. This eagerness and vehemence is just the passion of the two future parents for each other. It lies innumerable degrees, the two extremes of which may at any rate be described as ACPO and TRR/IRAV/J/WO, and of Pavia. In its nature, however, it is everywhere the same. On the other hand, it will be in degree so much the more powerful the more individualized it is, that is, the more the loved individual is exclusively suited, by virtue of all his, or her parts and qualities, to satisfy the desire of the lover and the need established by his, or her own individuality. What is really in question here will become clear in the further course of our exposition. Primarily and essentially the inclination of love is directed to health, strength, and beauty, consequently also to youth, because the will first of all seeks to exhibit the specific character of the human species as the basis of all individuality. Ordinary amorousness does not go much further. To these, then, more special claims link themselves on, which we shall investigate in detail further on, and with which, when they see satisfaction before them, the passion increases. But the highest degrees of this passion spring from that suitableness of two individualities to each other on account of which the will, that is, the character of the father and the intellect of the mother, in their connection, make up precisely that individual towards which the will, to live in general which exhibits itself in the whole species, feels a longing proportionate to this its magnitude, and which therefore exceeds the measure of a mortal heart, and the motives of which, in the same way, lie beyond the sphere of the individual intellect. This is thus the soul of a true and great passion. Now the more perfect is the mutual adaptation of two individuals to each other in each of the many respects which have further to be considered, the stronger will be their mutual passion. Since there do not exist two individuals exactly alike, there must be for each particular man a particular woman, always with reference to what is to be produced, who corresponds most perfectly. A really passionate love is as rare as the accident of these two meeting. Since, however, the possibility of such a love is present in everyone, the representations of it in the works of the poets are comprehensible to us. Just because the passion of love really turns about that which is to be produced, and its qualities, and because its kernel lies here, a friendship without any admixture of sexual love can exist between two young and good-looking persons of different sex, on account of the agreement of their disposition, character, and mental tendencies. As regards sexual love, there may even be a certain aversion between them. The reason of this is to be sought in the fact that a child produced by them would have physical or mental qualities which were inharmonious. In short, its existence and nature would not answer the ends of the will to live as it exhibits itself in the species. On the other hand, in the case of difference of disposition, character, and mental tendency, and the dislike, nay, enmity, proceeding from this, sexual love may yet arise and exist. When it then blinds us to all that, and if it leads to marriage, it will be a very unhappy one. Let us now set about the more thorough investigation of the matter. Egoism is so deeply rooted a quality of all individuals in general, that in order to rouse the activity of an individual, being egoistical ends are the only ones upon which we can count with certainty. Certainly the species has an earlier, closer, and greater claim upon the individual than the perishable individuality itself. Yet when the individual has to act, and even make sacrifices for the continuance and quality of the species, the importance of the matter cannot be made so comprehensible to his intellect, which is calculated merely with regard to individual ends, as to have its proper share and effect. Therefore in such a case nature can only attain its ends by implanting a certain illusion in the individual, on account of which, that which is only a good for the species appears to him as a good for himself. So that when he serves the species he imagines he is serving himself, in which process a mere chimera, which vanishes immediately afterwards, floats before him, and takes the place of a real thing as a motive. This illusion is instinct. In the great majority of cases this is to be regarded as the sense of the species, which presents what is of benefit to it to the will. Since, however, the will has here become individual, it must be so deluded that it apprehends through the sense of the individual what the sense of the species presents to it, thus imagines it is following individual ends, while in truth it is pursuing ends which are merely general, taking this word in its strictest sense. The external phenomenon of instinct we can best observe in the brutes, where its relay is most important, but it is in ourselves alone that we arrive at a knowledge of its internal process, as of everything internal. Now it is certainly supposed that man has almost no instinct, at any rate only this: that the newborn babe seeks for, and seizes the breast of its mother. But, in fact, we have a very definite, distinct, and complicated instinct, that of the selection of another individual for the satisfaction of the sexual impulse, a selection which is so fine, so serious, and so arbitrary. With this satisfaction in itself, that is, so far as it is a sensual pleasure resting upon a pressing want of the individual, the beauty or ugliness of the other individual has nothing to do. Thus the regard for this which is yet pursued with such ardor, together with the careful selection which springs from it, is evidently connected, not with the chooser himself, although he imagines it is so, but with the true end, that which is to be produced.